Now, Hong Kong is bearing the brunt of China's new security law, and that is our top focus this hour, as tech giants have suspended processing government requests for user data in Hong Kong due to China's new national security law. Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, Google and Telegram have said they are pausing cooperation with requests for user information from the Hong Kong police. In a statement, Facebook Incorporated, which owns WhatsApp and Instagram, said that it was pausing reviews for its services pending further assessment of the national security law. Twitter cited grave concerns about the law's implications, while Google said that it will continue to review Hong Kong government requests for removals of user-generated content from its services. The national security law has been seen as an attempt by China to erode Hong Kong's autonomy. Among other tech giants, Apple is yet to make an announcement on the user data sharing. Meanwhile, the Chinese app TikTok has said that it will stop operations in Hong Kong in the coming days. Experts say that Hong Kong has been a loss-making market for the video sharing app. Earlier, TikTok had said that it would not share users' data with the government. For more details, let's quickly go across to our correspondent, Richard Kimber, who's joining me live from Hong Kong. Richard, a very good morning to you, or good afternoon to you. Now, with China's security law kicking in with full force, this leaves the rival American internet giants in a very tricky position. What's the threat that they are facing, be it arrests or the potential losses? And why has TikTok, which is a Chinese app, decided to exit Hong Kong's market?
Yes, every day we're seeing the new ramifications of this security law in Hong Kong as different businesses or different political groups start to push for changes in the way they operate here because of their uncertainties about the future. The latest, of course, as you say, all these tech giants saying that they're reviewing their operations. Perhaps one of the most interesting ones, as you mentioned there, is ByteDance's TikTok. ByteDance, one of China's biggest tech companies, it says in the coming days it will actually withdraw entirely its TikTok platform from Hong Kong because it's not clear whether or not for its operations that TikTok will effectively fall under Chinese jurisdiction in Hong Kong rather than being a separate jurisdiction here in Hong Kong itself. Now, it's important to understand with TikTok that this was a globally marketed app that ByteDance pushed out to the world and did not offer the same app in China. That was part of its marketing strategy to make it more appealing to a global audience to try and sign up, because it said all along that the data is not stored in China and that it would not comply with any government requests to share that data with the Chinese government. It also did say that it had never received any requests, but the crucial thing was that it tried to differentiate itself from many other Chinese apps that are based in China and have their whole operation in China by separating out its business.
Right.
But it's now saying it may withdraw TikTok entirely, and the expectation is that it will probably then replace TikTok with its Chinese version, Douyin, and then basically have the same app operating across the whole of the Greater China area, including Hong Kong.
It's interesting to see, Richard, how TikTok, remains at the heart of all the controversy. Now, after India, the United States is also contemplating on banning this Chinese app, as confirmed by the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo itself. What sort of an impact could this have on the business of the Chinese app? And how do you view this entire scenario where the heightened tensions have spilled on to arenas like trade and technology? Of course, the cause being the national security law.
Well, yes, certainly Mike Pompeo has singled out TikTok as one of the apps that the US government may seek to ban. Now, TikTok is a huge platform. It's been downloaded more than 2 billion times on the Apple and Google Play services, and it's a massive, massive platform across the world. Nothing really to do with the China operation. So it would clearly be a big blow to ByteDance if it loses its US market share, which is a significant portion of its user base. As for the overall impact across the tech industry, there's been reassurance yet again from the government here today, from the Chief Executive Carrie Lam, that this security law does not spell what she called doom and gloom for the Hong Kong business market. And the Finance Secretary again this week pointing to the fact that there have been no significant capital outflows from the Hong Kong stock market, which incidentally has been doing quite well this week despite all of these security concerns. So these tech companies, obviously very big players, if they start to consider pulling out of Hong Kong or shutting down their operations in Hong Kong, clearly this will give a big shockwave to the market here, which otherwise has actually been fairly resilient during this entire period.
Absolutely, and it is going to indeed govern the future of internet freedom in Hong Kong. Now, apart from UK's offer of citizenship to 3 million Hong Kongers, China also faces the threat of the new global sanctions regime, which have already targeted individuals and organizations from Saudi Arabia, Russia, Myanmar and now North Korea, as announced by Dominic Raab. How is Beijing expected to respond?
Well, the Chinese ambassador in the UK, who's obviously serving Beijing's demands, he basically criticised very strongly the UK government again yesterday, telling them that on no account should they continue to interfere in China's internal affairs by offering citizenship to Hong Kong people. There's no clarity yet whether Beijing may specifically ban Hong Kong people from accepting that offer and actually moving to the UK. And there's also no clarity yet whether or not, if they did do that, they may no longer be able to maintain their Chinese or Hong Kong citizenship as well. So that's likely to be clarified in the coming days. But the criticism is getting much stronger from China towards the United Kingdom's offer. And during this time, what's happening in Hong Kong is many Hong Kongers, in an effort to just try and keep their options open, are seeking to renew those British national overseas passports and ready themselves potentially for a situation where they do now have the option to move to the UK and potentially decide to settle there entirely. But most people here are taking a wait-and-see approach. They're not necessarily getting ready to move immediately.
Right. It's in fact a matter which is just growing by the day. Richard, how divisive has Beijing's new security law become in terms of splitting the world into two camps? For and against. Case in point is also Hong Kong's Chief Executive Carrie Lam's vehement defence of the law which you just mentioned, which is also a sharp contrast to the stance endorsed by Secretary Pompeo or even UK's Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab for that matter.
Well, it's certainly becoming socially divisive on a very local level here, more so than perhaps the protest movement became last year. And that's really just because after 6 months of protests last year, followed by 6 months of virus upheaval this year, many people just don't want another 6 months of economic strain here. So even people who are somewhat in the moderate camp towards the extradition bill of last year, they're now starting to get a little bit fatigued by this constant economic strain on the city here. And really, even though they might not agree necessarily with the security bill, they would rather just have a sense of normalcy with regards to life here than see another 6 months of protests over a bill that effectively has already been passed. So the protest movement is struggling to have the same momentum that it did last year. And on a social level, basically, people who are generally younger, the student population, still very keen to protest against this bill, but probably the older population less enthusiastic about that anymore and basically just hoping that Hong Kong can retain the type of stability and normalcy that the chief executive has promising. But the question really is, if the international world and the business world continues to be uncertain and unsure about Hong Kong, even if there's stability on a local level, the tech and business world may still be very volatile for the months to come.
That's a very interesting dilemma that you have just expressed, and we'll have to wait and watch how the situation actually pans out, and for that we'll keep coming back to you. Thank you so much, Richard, for now.